No one is watching us, I said. They're watching Shaq jam with Bruce Willis and John Goodman. Huh. You know, they should remake Three Amigos with that cast.
We all know it's called Superbook. It shows us all the places that we want to go and look. Superbook,
Superbook. A planet Hollywood? The city the Animorphs live in now has a planet Hollywood? And it's opening with a concert thingy with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, Demi Moore, Shaq, John Goodman, Naomi Campbell, Ralph Lauren, and Lucy Lawless? Well, of course the Animorphs can't tell you what city they live in, because they apparently live in every city! Naturally, such an event is ripe for triggering opening book hijinks, so all the Animorphs morph birds of prey to go and see the performance for free. This may seem like a waste of time and morally questionable, but hey, last time they did this, they discovered hologram robot dogs. Naturally, the presence of Lucy Lawless causes Rachel to get some ribbing from Marco. There she is! I yelled in some surprise. Oh, that's her, Lucy, what's her name? Xena! It's Xena! Marco cried, delighted. Okay, Rachel, the time has come. Fly down there, morph back to human, and you and Xena have it out. See who can kick whose butt! Marco, I sighed. You do like to cling to your pathetic little dreams, don't you? Oh, he dreams about Rachel and Lucy Lawless, but not the dreams you're thinking of. The planet Hollywood rests near a river and across from an office building. While flying around, Rachel manages to see a man on one of the top floors of the building just as he takes an office chair and throws it out the window. The Animorphs barely have time to react as the man jumps out himself. Rachel quickly flies over and grabs him. The rest of the Animorphs follow suit, and while they aren't powerful enough to stop his fall, they manage to slow him down and glide him over to the river, where he lands with a plop. However, he gets stuck on the bottom, so Rachel has to quickly morph Dolphin to drag him out to the surface. People at the Planet Hollywood thing manage to pull him out, and it's Arnold, of all people, who gives him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Well, the Animorphs need to break into concerts more often. Plot threads just seem to fall into their laps. The Animorphs get together the next day at the mall, at the food court, with Axe in his human morph. Axe had snagged the bun. He snagged the plate and the plastic fork, too. He was busy shoving them into his mouth. Bun and plate and fork. Great big huge bun and little paper plate. I reached over and grabbed the end of the plastic fork. Half of it was already in Axe's mouth. I yanked it out. It was too late to save the plate. The five of us just sat there for a few minutes and watched as Axe chewed and slobbered and gulped and shoved with his fingertips. It was a little like watching a python trying to swallow a small pig.
Cookies!
Why do you keep bringing him here? So absolutely nothing gets accomplished in this meeting besides for the readers to learn that the jumping man's name is George Edelman. Rachel goes home and discovers that her mother, who, if you forgot, is a lawyer, is representing Edelman and is trying to prove that the man is sane enough to handle his own affairs. That proves to be a bit difficult when the man in question keeps telling people he has an alien in his head. Warning lights, warning lights! Of course, the Animorphs have to see what's going on, so they all gather outside the institution where Edelman is being held. They pause to tell unfunny jokes, and then finally try to figure a way to break in. A food truck shows up to drop off a delivery, and... I've gone over this scene several times, and I just can't figure out the logistics of it. Jake, Rachel, and Marco morph seagulls, fly into the truck, demorph, remorph cockroaches, sneak into a box, and have the delivery man take them inside. My question is, why couldn't they just morph Roach outside of the truck and crawl through the docking door? It's just not explained well enough why a much simpler plan is passed for this complicated two-morph deal. Oh, and the box the three Animorphs sneak into is full of bananas. And a tarantula for artificial drama. Actually, based on the research I just did on the internet and not Barnes and Noble, it probably isn't a tarantula, but the tarantula-esque Brazilian wandering spider, which Guinness World Records has named the world's most venomous spider and is known to hide in bunches of bananas. By pure chance, the delivery man knocks over the box of bananas, and Tobias flies down and catches the spider before it kills Rachel. He then proceeds to eat it. And then he dies, because he just ate the world's most venomous spider. The three Animorphs play Metal Gear Solid inside the poor man's Arkham Asylum until they find Edelman's location. Rachel D morphs in a bathroom and confronts him on just what the fuck is going on. He tells her that there is indeed a yerk in his head, and it's insane, causing Edelman to spasm every once in a while. Rachel then claims she's an Andalite and morph, and asks Edelman how the yerk is staying alive. They discovered it quite by accident. No one guessed what it could do. No one realized it would prove addictive. But it did. Terribly addictive. And over time, the continued ingestion of it began to eliminate the yerk's need for Kandrona rays. At the same time, it drove them crazy. You see, it seems to literally replace some of a yerk's brainstem. I nodded. I could barely contain my excitement. A food that could destroy yerks! What is the food, Mr. Edelman? Oatmeal, he said, but only the instant kind, and then only the maple and ginger flavor. Yeah, something about that strikes me as a bit silly. Granted, unlike some of the other silly, high-concept Animorph books, this one makes an attempt to have it mean something in the overall war. The Animorphs have been presented with a kind of drug that will cause yerks to go insane, and allow their host bodies times of self-control, at the cost of the yerk never leaving the host's head. Actually, what I find more far-fetched than the oatmeal is the idea that anything would cause a yerk to permanently no longer require Kandrona rays. A Kandrona substitute that fucks with the yerks is okay, but it's implied that the yerks no longer need Kandrona even if the host stops eating the oatmeal. That's not an effect of a drug, that's a downright mutation. But anyway, the moral dilemma. Is it right to use a drug with this kind of effect against your enemy? The group is pretty split on the idea, with Marco being gung-ho and Jake being pretty against it because he wouldn't want to damn Tom to permanently having a yerk in his head. Which leads to this line. It's oat frickin' meal! Marco exploded. Question, faithful viewers. When you originally read this line, did you laugh? I know I did. And this is my big problem with this book. The moral dilemma is sound and worth exploring, but the overall silliness of it being oatmeal undermines all of that. When I reread that line for this project, I realized that it was actually meant to be taken seriously, that it was supposed to be a serious representation of Marco's side of the debate, that a simple foodstuff should not be compared with a typical drug. It's a side of the argument, and it's lost because we're 13 and giggling about the yerks being weak to oatmeal. I'm not saying humor doesn't have a place here, but a bit more care should have been taken. In any case, the Animorphs decide that using the oatmeal against the yerks is a necessary evil, so they start buying the stuff whenever they can. The next step is to find a new entrance to the yerk pool, though I'm not sure why. The one at the Gap at the mall is still there, and the yerks weren't aware that the Animorphs knew of that one. But anyway, Tobias discovers another entrance in a McDonald's. You go in and say, I'd like a Happy Meal with extra happy, and then head to the back and enter a freezer that has a secret door in the back of it to the yerk pool. Yes, because ordering a meal in an unusual way and then immediately walking into the kitchen when you're only a customer isn't conspicuous at the least. So the Animorphs morph Fly, and Axe proceeds to explode because he still has the bullet in him from the last book. Well, okay, maybe Cassie removed it. She's going to perform brain surgery on Axe eventually, so I guess a simple bullet removal isn't that big of a deal. So yeah, the Animorphs buzz around for a bit until a controller asks for extra happy, then they follow her into the fridge, but when they pass through the entrance into the yerk pool, an alarm goes off, which the regular patrons don't hear, I guess, and a voice announces that unauthorized life forms have entered the pool, and the Animorphs ditch back into the fridge just before a flash of light nearly disintegrates them. Axe informs them that the yerks have installed something called a GLEAT biofilter, which destroys any unauthorized life forms that pass through it. Chances are good that every entrance has this filter now, which not only makes it hard to get into the Yeerk pool by conventional means, it makes it impossible, as it scans both the specific human and the specific Yeerk inside that person's head. So the Animorphs can't even morph a known controller without getting fried. This is a bit I really liked. In fact, it's my favorite part of the whole book, as it shows how the Yeerks are evolving to meet the threat of the supposed Anthalite bandits. Remember when I said the Yeerks had no idea what entrance the Animorphs used in number 7, The Stranger? Beforehand, the Yeerks were content with just sealing off single entrances, such as the one in the school. But now that they know the Anthalite bandits could use any one of them, up go the biofilters. Well, fuck. What do the Animorphs do now? After some brainstorming, Cassie comes up with the idea of digging into the Yeerk pools from above and pouring the oatmeal directly into the pool itself. I guess through a hose or something. Thankfully, there happens to be a mole at Cassie's barn, because Cassie is always taking care of the animal the Animorphs most need at the moment. After some amateur math and map making, the Animorphs find a shed with a dirt floor in the backyard of an empty house, and so they start digging there.